Welcome everyone to our second session of NAIFA's Future Leaders Program. My name is Emily Cabbage. I'm the Director of Marketing at NAIFA. And it's my pleasure today to introduce you guys to Evelyn Geller, who is at New York Life, and she's going to talk to you a bit about finding your best fit. Now, as we get into this session, everybody is in listen-only mode for those of you who are participating live. Please feel free to use the chat feature or the question and answer as things come up during the call, and we will take questions at the end. So without any further ado, Evelyn, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Emily, and good afternoon to everyone who's attending. Whether you're on live on this wonderful sunny afternoon in the New York area or listening on demand, I want to welcome all of the students from across the country, our professors that are joining us, school administrators, and of course, our NAIFA members. My name is Evelyn Geller. As Emily mentioned before, I'm currently a partner at New York Life, and I'm responsible for talent acquisition and agent development in my local market. I am based out of Long Island, New York, not in New York City, and we have 5 locations in total with over 700 advisor agents. Now, NAIFA's Talent Development Center has created this Future Leaders Program in order to give the next generation of advisors an opportunity to hear from experienced individuals and to provide some insights into the career. In this second part session of a 4-part series, my goal is to be able to share with you my experiences as a leader and as a recruiter and what makes for a good fit, and some of the things that you should consider as you enter into this journey of discovery for the career in the financial services industry. So here's what I intend on covering in today's discussion. I will tell you that I like to use personal stories and incorporating my experiences really to illustrate my point, and I think that it really helps you to really consider these things. Now, though, I recognize that most of the students that perhaps are joining us here are majoring in business or maybe even financial planning. I will share with you that my college major was not business, by the way. I was actually a psychology major at Fordham U for any of my New Yorkers that might be online. So when I was approached about joining insurance and financial services as a career, my initial reaction was, I'm not exactly that sure that this is a fit because my educational background did not align with that. But I was very far from the truth, by the way. The other thing that I thought about is that I had no entrepreneurial role models that were in my world. In fact, my network really comprised of individuals that, had traditional roles, teachers, nurses, engineers, and pharmacists. So one of my major concerns coming into this business is A, I didn't have the educational background, and B, if I were to consider this, what is the training like? Because training for me really required someone to spend time on the fundamentals about personal finance, and then certainly take me through the trajectory of learning advanced concepts in this career choice. So that was a big part of the conversation that I had initially during the interview process. I was not the likely candidate that I thought. I was a little bit shy, or at least I thought I was shy. I found my voice pretty quickly in this industry. The educational background wasn't exactly there, and I really did not have any role models. Now, I also didn't join the business, by the way, straight out of college. So I got to experience what it was like first coming out of college to work directly for a company, work a fixed schedule for a fixed salary, have a boss, have a vacation schedule. I got to have that exposure prior to joining into this business. But it's not necessarily the case with some of the advisors that we are able to hire in our firm. I believe that for me, being that employee first really helped me to discover the fact that I was not well suited for a very structured environment. My personality lends more to freedom and flexibility. to do things in a unique way, but still be able to achieve results at the same time. Now, I don't want to emphasize, I do want to emphasize something here, having structure and fixed type of, work environment just wasn't the right fit for me. It is the right fit for many people. It just was not the right fit for me. And that's what I discovered as I was working traditional roles. So after working for two very small firms, I was doing okay, not great. I had been promoted a couple of times in both of these firms. I decided to take a chance on myself and started to look at business opportunities as opposed to job listings. Now, I indicated here that knowing your why first is really important in this process. And here's the reason why. It really helps you in determining, the type of firm that you want to be affiliated with. Do you want to be with a small company? Do you want to be with a large company? What sort of support are you going to need to be able to launch your practice early on? For me, that training and the development was a very big part of it. Training being classroom, the development being what I was going to have an opportunity to observe and demonstrate with a mentor working out in the field. So to me, that was extremely important. And I think that as you consider this career opportunity, understanding that is kind of your starting point, if you will. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit about why I felt inspired to come into this industry. People join for different reasons. My why, I think, was a little bit unique in that I was the first and only in my world that hadn't really considered a career in this business. Now, understanding what you're looking for helps you also to manage the emotional ups and downs of launching a practice in the first few years. So I'm going to spend some time talking a little bit about my why, and hopefully that will connect with some of you as well. Now, once you're clear on the why, you should then take inventory of what your personality strengths are. And some of them are going to be very evident to you. My family constantly teases me. They say one of the things that I have the ability to do is to really connect with people. And one of the things that are really critical in this business is the ability to build those relationships. So once you know what your why is, then understand what your personality strengths are, and then also uncover what those opportunities for growth might be. Now, there are going to be times where you're going to discover that there are certain areas that you are just never going to be great at. But at least you're A, aware of it, and B, can really work towards maybe being good with that. For me, the strength was very people-oriented, can connect with individuals. My children almost tell me all the time that I'm a magnet for people, right? I can meet a perfect stranger and walk out of a situation and be, their best friend. But I also know that on the flip side, I'm not an analytical. If I need to be able to explain something that's very graphical or numbers oriented, I recognize that maybe I was going to need someone as a joint work partner that was going to be able to help me in those types of situations. But I think that's really, really important as you start to really assess where you want to align yourself with. Now, there are many different companies and many different types of practices, and we're going to touch on that as well. In fact, I Googled just a little while ago how many insurance companies are there in the US. I was surprised to see that the number was close to 6,000. I then expanded my search and I said, okay, how many insurance and financial services organizations are there? There's over 1 million. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to vet that many, but I think a good starting point is to know your local market, really identify the companies that locally are serving your communities, and then identifying someone, whether it's a friend or someone that can be referred to you, that you have an opportunity to really dig deep and see what that organization is all about. I think initially leveraging your network and discovering, what makes that firm unique is such an important aspect of launching your business very successfully. For me, that person actually was a next door neighbor. He was actually trying to recruit my husband to be his successor in practice. And just by pure accident, I stepped into that conversation, and my husband very calmly said, "I'm not looking to enter into that business, but Evelyn is looking for a business opportunity." And that's how I came into the business. The last point that I want to make is, looking outside of your company affiliation. So once you decide on a firm or on a company that you're going to affiliate yourself with, I think it's extremely important that you expand your industry network in addition to your company affiliation. Because in this business, I think it's really important that you develop a network that's going to support you. A network that you can count on for, business competition. I think it's really, really important that you look outside of your affiliation and really expand your professional network within your industry as well. So I'd like to move now to share with you a little bit about my why. So I'm a native New Yorker, if you can't tell from my accent, born and raised in the Bronx, for any people that are here from the local market. And, one of the things that I discovered as I was vetting companies and really looking at this career opportunity is that I saw the upside potential of serving my own community. As a Hispanic woman, living in a Hispanic community, I knew that there was an opportunity to be able to come in and provide education and serve my community in language so that the financial decisions that they were making would be something that they would be comfortable because it would be in language. So for me, part of my why was to be able to serve my own community. But the other part of my why is I wanted to empower women to be part of their personal financial journey. I've done a lot of research in this, and what we've discovered is that women are involved in the day-to-day managing of finances, but when it came to long-term decisions, estate planning, financial planning, retirement planning, there was more of a disengagement. And for me, I saw that as an opportunity. So for me, those were the two driving forces for me, is making sure that the Latino community was being served. And today, I will tell you that market is massive. Over 70 million Latinos living across the country. The buying power of that market is close to 1.5 trillion. And the opportunity really here is the fact that only 44% of that 70 million actually have a financial advisor or a financial professional that they're working for. So there's still a lot of opportunity that was there. That opportunity was there when I joined many years ago, and that opportunity still exists. And then I was passionate about really working with professional women to really empower them in making financial decisions. I will say that as my career evolved and I decided to pursue some further education within the industry, I really did pursue some designations that would tie into the markets that I was looking to serve. So as an example, a designation that I obtained a number of years ago is the Retirement Income Certified Professional. And you may have seen the designation posted in that first slide when I opened up. That stands for Retirement Income Certified Professional. Why did I go through the educational process, take the examinations, and then be eligible for the designation? Because again, in my market, as I worked with women, what I discovered is that their retirement plans fell a little bit short. And it was oftentimes because there were things in their lives that caused them to take a pause from career, like staying home to raise family or taking care of aging parents, and they weren't really catching up. So I wanted to make sure that that was in place. In line with that, by the way, the CLTC designation, also a very important designation in the female market. In the general market, it's very important, but I felt it was important in the women's market as well, which talks about the fact that long-term care needs can be an issue that comes up in someone's life and can really impact their retirement plan as well. So my why very early on in my career were those two markets. For some people, you're not going to know exactly what markets you want to pursue, what your why is, but it becomes clearer and clearer over time as you're working with clients. Now, once I understood what my why was, I also wanted to know what would be the benefits of, joining a financial services company, being an advisor, working with clients, as opposed to maybe just being an entrepreneur on my own. Well, of course, this business gives us unbelievable flexibility. And I will tell you that I, have enjoyed that over the 25 plus years that I'm in the industry. I've managed to raise two wonderful kids at this point. They're both studying, in their respective fields, and will be done in the next couple of years. But when they were growing up, it was important to me that not only was I successful career-wise, but that I also could be a present mom, that I could be there for the activities that they had, whether it was a soccer game or whether it was, a music recital. It was really important to me that I would have the flexibility to be able to come in and out of my day, to be able to be present for them, as well as having a very successful career. For that reason, instead of calling it career-life balance, I always call it blend, because one of my typical days could be I was in the office, I was working with clients. 3 o'clock, one of my kids had a soccer game. I could shut the lights, go see them play soccer, make sure homework was done, and a little bit of dinner. And then my husband came home and I was back into the office. And I don't know too many careers that would have actually allowed us to come in and out throughout our day, to be able to have both things exist in our lives. Of course, the upside income was definitely something that drew me to the career. I knew that, working in those two small firms, was very limited in terms of income. The opportunity for growth was very, very small. They were both family-owned businesses. So if any opportunities presented themselves, there was always a family member that stepped into the role. So it was very limited for me. Here in this career, I knew that not only could I be successful as an advisor agent, but I would also have a career path and have an opportunity for growth. And I do remember that initial conversation that I had with my manager, where I said to him, I know that, I'm doing a really good job in this role, but I'd like to have your job. How do I get that? Right. And it was no fear of doing that, because there's always opportunity for growth. Of course, we always like to be, tapped on the shoulder for opportunities, but also to be applauded for a job well done. But for me, recognition goes beyond the applause. It is recognizing that the impact that we're making in people's lives is so critical, because they're coming to us with their dreams, they're coming to us with their goals. They're giving us information that oftentimes they're not really sharing with anyone else. So to me, recognition really means the impact that we're making, and the recognition that my clients are providing to me in terms of saying, thank you. Thank you for helping me create a plan that's going to get me to my goals, whether that's planning for retirement or saving enough to send, my children to college, or it's protecting what's most important to me and my family, right? That to me is recognition. The accolades and the awards, very nice. But to me, the fulfillment of that type of recognition, again, drives me and is part of my why as well. Now, some key things to consider as you're exploring the possibility of being an advisor, being an agent. is that there's different types of practices that are out there. I joined as an individual practitioner. I wanted to build my own practice. Now, some people start out as an individual practitioner, acquiring their clients, servicing their clients, but then evolve into developing a team. And many practitioners have been able to join forces with another advisor that perhaps has a different skill set. So for me, my skill set was always, I was the door opener. For others, it might be preparing the actual financial plan and coming up with the solutions. For other individuals, it might be servicing the client. So in those scenarios, sometimes people do come together. There might be an opportunity to bring someone into a team because they have a particular skill set. But oftentimes it also does come from an individual practitioner who has had some success and is looking to partner with other individuals. So as you look at this, what you need to think to yourself is, am I the type of individual that wants to kind of build my practice and bring people on, but I'm kind of the managing partner of that firm? Or am I better suited going onto a team because I have a particular skill set? Now, the second point to bring across is some people start out as generalists and then evolve into a specialist. So I was a generalist when I first came in. I was in client acquisition mode. I was working with people from different backgrounds, with different professions, different needs, but eventually I decided to specialize in some key areas. Now, I will say that specialists typically will excel at a faster rate than a generalist. So if you're looking to kind of accelerate your practice a lot quicker, specializing, having a target market is something that's really, really critical to see your career kind of take off. But sometimes we do come in as generalists. I know I came in as a general practitioner and then evolved into the specialist role. Again, you want to make sure that the firm or the company that you affiliate with will have the ability to help you with your initial business and marketing plan, and then start looking at that not only from a 1-year perspective, but also look at what it looks like 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And then the third thing I will say is I've always been lucky that, firms that I've worked with have been very, very supportive in terms of professional as well as personal development, getting the designations, supported by the company, fully reimbursable. Oftentimes those classes are actually coordinated and organized by my local firm. So I was able to join with other practitioners that were looking to get those designations as well. But it's also about personal coaching. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to have, those resources available where a personal coach, working with a personal coach brings tremendous value in understanding, okay, well, you're at this level, how do we get to that next level? And what's actually stopping you from getting to that next level, right? And having someone that you can be accountable to as well. So very, very important as well. I would say these 3 things are most important when you're considering, where is the best fit for me? Do I start out as an individual producer? Do I join a team? Do I start solo and then evolve into my own team? A lot of things to consider there. Do I start out as a general practitioner or do I go right into specialty? I was mentoring a young woman a few years ago through one of my organizations, and she went directly for a firm that specialized just in the dental market. And she's absolutely having tremendous success there. They're supporting her. She's helping to bring in clients. She's doing seminars and workshops. She's just doing it from day one as a specialist. So that's an opportunity. And certainly the other thing to consider is you're always learning in this business. 25 plus years in this industry, I will tell you, I am constantly learning. There are things that are evolving from a tax law perspective, understanding how the new tax laws are going to impact the products. New product development, products have evolved from when I first came into the industry. So what's the support that's going to be there for not only your professional development, but also personal as well? Now, generally, speakers will talk about their bio and what they've done at the very beginning. I've decided to kind of put this towards the end of my presentation here. So just to give you an idea of what my career journey has been like, as I indicated, I started out as a financial services representative. I was mentored by someone who's in the industry 31 years, and I learned a lot from him. But I quickly decided that I wanted to evolve and work with a lot of different people that had different areas of specialty. So even when you're in one particular role, you can really evolve and do different things as well. As a financial services rep, by the way, I was also very passionate about my markets and decided to create advisory committees for my company. And because of that work that I did, and was purely volunteer, by the way, I then had an opportunity and got tapped on the shoulder to be the regional training director in my local market, which at the time was in the Queens, New York area. That was a great learning opportunity for me. A lot of that role was about training, classroom training of brand new people, not only in the Queens area and the Queens region, but also I participated in the corporate success schools on a bi-weekly basis. So that was a great opportunity that I had to really sharpen the saw in how to be able to train and develop agents. I had a good run with that, but I decided that, I wanted to really lead a team and not only be able to train them in the classroom, but really be able to work with them out in the field. So I approached my senior vice president at the time, and I said to him, I'd love to be considered for a sales manager role. And here are the reasons why. And that was an interesting conversation, because he said to me at the time, he says, well, coincidentally, there's someone who would like to be able to do your opportunity. So what if you guys kind of swap? Because he was a sales manager and I was a regional training director. So that actually took me into the role of sales manager. And now that gave me an opportunity to duplicate myself, to be able to bring people into the career who can serve the markets that I was serving, right? So now, instead of just having Evelyn Geller go after those markets, I would be able to train, teach, develop, work with individuals who could also go after that market. I also had a unique opportunity throughout my career the last about 5 years ago to work as an intrapreneur. Not an entrepreneur. And here's the distinction, by the way. I joined a very small team of individuals who had experience in financial services, who are going to launch a separate company inside of a corporate structure. And again, everything that I've always done aligned with my markets. So this particular company that we launched focused on a content platform to be able to provide information and education to women in a non-technical format. And it was very, very successful. We were able to acquire hundreds of thousands of women that engaged with the platform and that found our information very, very useful. And of course, my role today is going back to this because my vision is to be able to create a massive organization of individuals who are serving the communities that I'm quite passionate about. Now, I did allude to the fact that I think it's really important that you also tap into the resources and expand beyond what is at your company. So for me, I mentioned before, getting professional designations. The first one that I acquired was one through NAIFA, a NAIFA designation, a UTCF, and then the American College. And there's actually a couple more designations that I've acquired outside of from these particular companies, from the Corporation of Long-Term Care Consultants and the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst as well. But where my passions continue to flourish and continue to kind of tell the story was being president of Women in Insurance and Financial Services. an 85-year-old organization that has a tremendous community of women that are supporting one another. And their mission is attract, develop, and advance women in the insurance and financial services industry. And that was quite an honor for me as well as being part of the association for all of the leaders inside of the industry. GAMA was a massive organization with thousands of leaders that came together to share best practices, to help and support one another as they were growing their businesses. And of course, NAIFA, who you're hearing from today through the Talent Development Center as well. So whether you decide that, this career, whether it's being a practitioner, a sole practitioner, being part of a team, whether you start out as a generalist or a specialist, as you're vetting through this, what I would suggest to anyone looking at this is once you've made that decision, just be all in. We are in tremendous need for individuals who can be passionate around this business. It does require a great amount of grit and commitment to the profession. More than ever, consumers need us in helping them make decisions. But we also look for individuals who are self-disciplined. Again, for me, that flexibility was a big thing. But, given the goals that I wanted to reach, I knew that every single day I needed to do certain activity to get to that end game that I had. And then certainly being coachable, right? I love working with people that are open-minded, that have the ability to take on something brand new, make it their own, and then be able to serve the communities that they want to serve. So with that being said, again, I want to thank everyone for participating today. And I want to turn it back to Emily. You're on mute, Emily.
Thank you, Evelyn. How many years or how many months of Zoom and still happens. But no, thank you very much, Evelyn, for sharing your story with us today. At this time, we can take a couple questions. So if you guys want to put that into the chat feature, we can do that. One question that I had specifically was that, we talk about finding your passion and things like that. What happens to a recent graduate who gets working to find their passion and they're in a career path that maybe isn't their passion, but they're worried about looking like a job hopper? From a recruiter standpoint, what's your advice there?
That's a great question. And Emily, I did the same thing. I was on mute for sure. So there are a couple of things that I'd like to suggest here. Number one is spend time upfront vetting the opportunity, right? And making sure that it is a fit. And, some of the things that we are really passionate around when we're talking to a new candidate is having them go into their community of people that know them and ask specific questions, really survey them and say things like, I'm giving some thought to this career in financial services, and I'd like to get your opinion, right? How do you think I could do in this business? Do you think that, I would be able to provide advice? Do you think that I would have the ability to bring value to people's lives and really, not only be able to serve them, but be able to serve everyone, that they know? I think if you do a thorough job up front, and are honest with yourself and you get some great feedback, you will discover upfront whether or not this is going to be the right fit for you or not, right? So that's one thing I would suggest. The second thing I would say is if you have a concern about that, work with organizations, with companies that are going to let you test drive the position before you make a full-time commitment. I always say to my candidates, if you were purchasing a $100,000 car, you'd want to test drive it before you bring it out into the showroom. Well, this is an opportunity for a six-figure income, serious six-figure income. We want to give you the opportunity to test drive it before you make a full-time commitment to it. In that way, Emily, we avoid the line item on the resume that says you were with so-and-so company for 2 months or 3 months only. All right. So I think it comes down to doing all the work up front, and maybe that feels a little bit, harder, but I think the payoff on the back end is so much greater.
And I did it again. No, absolutely. That's great advice, especially, just navigating that field. Had a question come in. Having been a psychology major, what is the first action you had done to transition to financial services?
So I'm always curious about people. I think this is why I have this ability. They always say seek to understand first. For me, that certainly is a strength, right? I'm not looking to be the smartest person in the room. I'm looking to really understand other individuals. So I took that particular skill set when I was working with my mentor to say, I'd like to have the opportunity to do the discovery meeting. Maybe you do the approach and I do the discovery meeting, because I'm always looking to seek to understand and not just get that first response that perhaps people will give you when you ask what's most important to you, right? Kind of digging a little bit deeper. And I think that's where my background in psychology and understanding human nature and how to navigate through those conversations came in very, very useful in this business.
Great. Thank you. Now you talked about mentors. Where are some good places for students graduating, or maybe they're in their junior, senior year? Where do you find a mentor these days?
So let me start out by saying that mentors can really have different types of roles, right? So I've had mentors in my career that were aspirational mentors. They were where I wanted to be. Right? So they kind of paved the way, almost like a sponsor, to help me navigate through and understand what it took to actually get there. But I also had mentors that were more accountability coaches, right? That held me accountable to the things that I said I was going to do. Now, sometimes some of those coaches were coaches that I paid for out of pocket because I wanted to achieve my goals at the end of the year, right? That was the end game. That's what I wanted to do. But also within my company, oftentimes I had the opportunity to approach someone and say, whether it's formal or informal, I'd like to kind of, maybe a couple of times a year, touch base with you and tell you where I am with my career and just get some feedback from you, right? I didn't want to make it a very big commitment for the other individual, right? But I also wanted, an open dialogue, if you will. So some of those mentors were paid relationships. And then there were other mentors where, I had a CEO that was my mentor as well. When, for example, when I decided to be president of WIFS, I went to the CEO of my company and I asked for a meeting, and I wanted her feedback as to, how to lead an organization and an association. And she gave me some great feedback. So that was a one and done. So mentorship doesn't have to be long-term either. It can be, very informal or just as needed as well.
Awesome. No, that's fantastic advice for anybody who, it doesn't even have to be in this career. It could, just be, kind of a life coach type of situation of, finding your fit and where you need to be. Well,
what, Emily, let me comment to that, by the way,
yeah,
because I think this is really important as well. I once had a coach who said, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So whether it is a life coach who's helping you work through something, We all have habits and we have patterns that transcend from personal to professional, right? So if that is the path that someone's looking to go down, having a life coach, it will impact your professional development as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Evelyn, thank you again. Don't see any more questions, but thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us and your expertise. Again, for those of you who are catching this on demand, obviously you won't be able to submit questions, but Evelyn's LinkedIn link is on our Future Leaders site. So feel free to connect up with her on LinkedIn. And we will see you back here next week for our panel discussion about choose your own adventure. So just continuing to build on this, all the different options in the industry that you can get into. So look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks so much.